I'm Rich Farrely. I'm creative lead at Treyarch.
I'm Noah Heller, senior producer, Call of Duty. We'll see, it was a really easy choice because there were a lot of Modern Warfare games out there, right? I won't mention any of our competitors, but it was a very crowded market. And we came along and made the best Modern Warfare game ever as Activision. Now we're back to make the best World War II game ever. We want to own both genres. And Call of Duty World at War, will be the best World War II game anyone's ever played. It's also the first time we've had a chance to make a game for 2 years. Call of Duty 3, 8 months. Big Red 1, 11 months. United Offensive, a year. We've never had this long to make a game, and finally we can make the game we've been wanting to make all along.
Right, yeah, and it's just a note on that is that, we're making a World War II game, but we realize that, because there have been many World War II games before us, we had to come to the table with something that was a bit more, unique, a bit more updated, contemporary.
We had to give new tactics an enemy that was much smarter and capable of doing other things. We couldn't go with the same old weapons. The weapons are much more powerful, and we've added the flamethrower, the flame tank, the Molotov cocktail. We couldn't come with the same old storyline, patriotism and for the flag. It's a much more personal story. It's much more gritty and realistic. And of course, we wanted to include co-op. We wanted to include new multiplayer. We've got so much new that we don't feel like we're going back at all. We feel like we're charging ahead. You want to talk about tactics?
Sure. So with the Pacific campaign, we have the Imperial Japanese Army, which fought very differently from the typical German infantrymen that you're used to playing in Call of Duty. So some of the things that you saw in the demos were, the enemies behaving in a much different way than what you're used to. Hiding in foliage, waiting for you to get really close before they jump out at you. Climbing trees to snipe you from a distance. Playing dead on the ground and all of a sudden coming back to life to ambush you.
Much more aggressive, constantly charging, right. Trying to flank, trying to outdo your position.
Basically, an enemy that's not afraid to die, to contrast that in the game on the Russian campaign, you'll see the German forces acting in a way that was much more consistent with the way they would do. Very organized, very tactical. For instance, if you find whichever officer is commanding them and you take care of him first, you'll notice that the soldiers will probably act a little bit more differently. They'll be a little bit less aggressive. They might fall back to a position. Not so with the Pacific. If the battle's not going very well for them, the officer's gonna pull his sword out and they're gonna charge at you with bayonets, and it's gonna be an ugly affair. The great thing about co-op, it's the first time we've ever done it in Call of Duty, and we didn't want to just have single player with 3 other guys with us. So from the very beginning, we designed the game to be friendly for co-op. From the way the environments are laid out. So another thing we're really excited about in the multiplayer is this squad leaders. You can have a squad mechanic. So basically, a group can have a squad leader, and this is an individual who can pull up a map and place waypoints around to command his squad in places. And attached to that also are special perks that are only active when you're within a certain range of the squad leader. So it really encourages people to play together as a team, especially for some of the modes that we're going to be presenting later. For the first time, we've actually been given that kind of freedom to make the game we want. You noticed that there might have been some more mature themes that you haven't seen before in a Call of Duty game. That was basically because we said, look, in order to come to the market with something that's unique that people haven't seen before and haven't experienced before, we had to bring the experience that the player was going to have in Call of Duty World at War closer to what they're used to seeing in, say, Saving Private Ryan or a Band of Brothers, where it's like there's violence, but it's not gratuitous, but it's enough to get the point across. It's enough to evoke emotions for the player and really get them immersed into the story.
One of our inspirations for one of the scenes in game, the ambush that you guys saw, was aliens. Where they're all around us, they're in the ducts, they're everywhere. What are they going to do to us? We take inspiration from much more modern material than we have in past World War II games, which is why the game feels a little timeless and contemporary.
So as far as interaction between players in co-op, you'll be able to revive downed comrades. But mostly we've designed the gameplay around not so much direct interaction, but more like cooperation in terms of, okay, you get the flamethrower, all right, there's a bazooka over there, you're going to take care of the tank, so I move forward with the flamethrower and make sure the infantry's okay. You take the sniper rifle, you get up on that tower, and that's more of the kind of design that we've got for our co-op.
I think the biggest challenge we're frankly journalists in the community. I mean, we read the articles, we read the forum posts, we understood that we couldn't come to the people with the same old World War II game. And, we didn't want to make a game where it's trumpets and flag waving and he said, boys, go take that hill over there. That's not the kind of game we want to make. We want to make the game where you're fighting for your brother. and you're being affected by very realistic war.
アメリカ人は俺たちを予期してない。